What's up, everybody? This is George Samuels, and you are tuning in to episode 60 of the It Will Come Show. And today we're going to be talking about community capitalism, joblessness, and resilience. So I am testing out a new streaming service called Restream today. So just bear with me. I'm just going to make sure that this is actually working properly. So give me 1 sec. Going to go back to the filler. All right. So, yep, have checked, and it looks like I am live streaming out properly, so this is good news. So, if you are tuning in from Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, welcome to the show. This, as I've mentioned, is the first time we're doing it through Restream, so let's see how we go. Now, over here today, we're going to be starting off with this particular article, which I gotta say has been really it's gotten a lot of feedback, comments, and because I've shared this on my personal Instagram, and why I really enjoyed this article is because they looked at a very pragmatic view of what could happen at the end of this pandemic, right? Some of it is pretty grim, if we're being honest, but there's also some positivity, right? And so I'm going to take us to the bits where they talk about community, right? Because if we look at sort of what could happen, and I thought this was interesting, they're looking at, call them Gen Z. Look at this. We realized that her child might want to first, so we decided to call the generation Gen Z. So any baby that's being created or born during this time is now going to be called Gen Z. All right. So here is for some cultural movements. Yes. So again, communities and left to spread on track through communities. Let's go here. Communities. Yeah. So there is the potential for a much better world after we get through the trauma. Communities are finding new ways of coming together, right? And this is so true because right now, despite all the craziness that's happening in the world, pandemics can also catalyze social change. So, with the social change, you can see people, businesses, and institutions moving quickly to make things happen. One of the biggest benefits I'm seeing right now is people are being forced to learn how to engage with one another virtually, right? They're having to learn the technology quickly so that they can connect with others and not go crazy being isolated at home constantly. Right. So if you haven't had a chance to read this article yet by The Atlantic, I highly recommend it. I will include it in the comments. So you can have a read yourself, but it does give sort of a balanced view of like both the positives and the negatives of what's going to be coming up. While we're on the topic of community, of course, Salesforce, they are known for actually having quite a strong developer community. If you're not familiar with Salesforce, they are one of the world's best, most well-known CRMs. And they have a group or community that they call Ohana, I believe, Trailblazers, and this is a tech company that gets community. And at Faya, who is one of our sponsors for the It Will Come show, communities are incredibly vital at this point in time. Why? Because they are your support network, right? And when you have nothing left, to keep you distracted or keep you busy, really it's going to be your social ties and your social bonds. It's never going to go anywhere. We are social creatures by design, and no matter how independent we want to become, interdependence are sort of the good signs of a healthy community. You need to have a good balance of both. So this is another great article to have a read of if you haven't yet. I'm sharing this. This is from my personal Facebook post, and it was more to do with just giving some reassurance to people around what's happening at the moment. If you've been tuning into past episodes, I do believe that we're going to move into a depression. So with that, it's better to be prepared than not at all. Luckily, I've been involved in the Bitcoin BSV / blockchain space for a while now. And we've kind of been expecting a time like this to occur. We were expecting the second GFC to hit in 2018, but now, it's come, but really the bubble was popped due to coronavirus. So with this particular post, it's more about just sort of three things that I believe will help you during these times. One, community for sure, right? If you don't have a strong community, find one. There are many online at the moment. Take the time to like maybe even try to connect with your neighbors if you can. If you have their details from phone numbers um, to social media handles, you could start to organize some things together online. I've seen around the world, there was a great video from Tony Robbins showcasing, I think they had like a whole district block. Some guy went to the middle of the block on the top of a rooftop and just did morning exercises, and everybody would come out to their balconies and do that together. We can find ways. So that's community. The next bit is financial inclusion. Financial cushions. This is about really starting to think more appropriately about how you're spending your money, how you're saving it. It's a time to be pragmatic and not waste it. All right. So disclaimer: this is not financial advice, but just really, really need to think about that, especially if we go into a depression. And the depression may be, more than just a couple months, more than a couple years. Some are predicting 23 to 25 years in terms of the economic fallout of this period. Out of the box thinking. I put that there because you really need to think differently about this time, right? If you've lost your job, I know a lot of people who are losing their jobs right now. If you lost your job, you need to find out how you're going to make money during this time, if it even matters, or what truly matters to you. Like, are you going to start bartering, trading things? Who knows? But you need to be prepared, and you need to think out of the box. This video also, highly recommended. I'll include it in the comments for you to check out. But just talking about how to be prepared during this time. Robert Kiyosaki is the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I've included this article because this is from the Marriott CEO. The well-known hotel chain, as you can see, tens of thousands of workers they've had to lay off, which is just crazy. But I think there was an article or video of the CEO giving a very heartfelt speech about these times. And a lot of CEOs are starting to cut their own salaries in order to keep some people on. But yeah, it's crippling the hotel industry. Really hard to see. It's a real shame. But here, while we're on the topic of joblessness, right, this is something that I found that I actually completely forgot I had. It is essentially an ebook I put together around 40 days of job hunting. It outlines day to day what I did to get myself or land myself a job when I found myself without one. And instead of crying about it, I decided to turn my efforts into a marketing campaign. And I outline step by step everything you can do here. So this is going to be free of charge. I'll put the link to it in the comments or the notes of the videos. And yeah, this is free for you to use and to learn from. Hopefully it'll be of help. I put here, just on the topic of, while keeping on the topic of jobs, this particular book is called Remote by the guys who have built the product Basecamp. They definitely are experts in remote work. They have a remote work culture. And yeah, if you have a subscription to Audible or even Scribed, I would highly recommend you have a listen to this book, because a lot of the lessons here will be very relevant to you right now if you find yourself working at home. And if you don't have the luxury of being able to work from home, and if you're a frontline worker, hats off to you, much love, sending prayers, and I hope you stay safe during this time, because you're doing what, a lot of people complaining about like having to work from home and going crazy. At least we're not out on the front lines, so this is why I tell people to still remain positive and be blessed that you don't have to be putting yourself out like that. And that's the one thing that you can do to be responsible right now, is do your bit, stay home, so they, the people on the front lines can actually help. And with that, from the job side, it's going to be very important for you to stay resilient. Resiliency, meaning that having the courage to go through these lean times and these hard times. And I've shared this. This is more to do about social ecological resilience and sustainability. And they give an example of a wolf pack. So if you've been watching as well, we have a program or a productivity accelerator called the Pack. And, I have an obsession with packs. If you haven't known already, just look at the logo for the It Will Come show. But yeah, in this particular bit, they talk about an example of resilience, the reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone National Park. So if you're not familiar with U.S. history around what happened to wolves, they pretty much almost killed them off to extinction back a couple decades ago. And Luckily, they didn't wipe them out completely. They did take a few of them and keep them in captivity for a bit. But when things got a bit better, they actually started to reintroduce them into Yellowstone National Park. The reason for this was because they found that when they removed the predator, the wolf, from Yellowstone National Park, from the United States in general, it had a massive impact on the ecology and the geography, even, right? So much so that, physical features of the land around them actually changed. And so, with this, it just showed, it symbolized a lot of like what the wolf is about in general in terms of resilience. And there's a lot you can learn from them, especially during these times, because wolves are known to actually thrive under harsh conditions. If you look at the Arctic wolf up in the more northern parts of North America, when it comes to winter, they're the ones that are out most of the time still hunting. Yes, they need to go very lean, but it's actually their time to thrive. And so this is why I use the analogy of the wolf, especially during this time, to think like one. It's not about bullying and being a predator and all that. Actually, those are misnomers from unhealthy studies of wolf packs. But to understand that they are very social creatures in general, so they can teach you about how to be social and how to be resilient. They've got stamina and they know how to work together. So with that, I'll leave you with this particular video. It's called How Wolves Change Rivers. Again, I'll leave it the link in the comments, but highly recommended watch. It's quite inspiring, and it's one of my favorite videos, especially during these times. And again, if you are interested in our productivity accelerator called the Pack, we'll be taking on our next wave of members soon, and we've got a special discount, especially during this time that the world is going through what it's going through. But if you're struggling with productivity, feeling a little bit of a slump, this group, we've been around for 5 years. We know how to get stuff done, and hopefully it could be of help to you too during these times. And with that, thank you for tuning in. That was episode 60. I hope you learned something new, and if you didn't, let me know what you would like to learn more about. And with that, as always, through patience and persistence, it will come.